Hello, everyone. Welcome to Feed Stuff 365 and happy Friday. We have agricultural meteorologist Greg Soulje back with us today to give us a look at this weekend going into next week. So, welcome, Greg.
Thank you, Sarah. Happy Friday to one and all on a little more summery feeling days worth of weather as it applies to at least our part of the Corn Belt and so the adjacent plains, and some rain coming through currently, and looks like that will impact maybe some outdoor activities for Father's Day in select areas, but there's some significant moisture ahead here in the shorter term for some of these drier, drought-ridden areas of the Corn Belt. So it's kind of a win-win for everyone. If you're looking for warmth, we got that. You were looking for rain. As the rain would say, rain makes grain. So a pretty good forecast.
There we go. We do need that rain. So
Yes.
let's take a look at what you got here.
All right, here on this 13th of June, flying right by this month of June, and here are the headlines. Again, shower activity through the better part of the Corn Belt, at least as of this airing, through the upper lakes region, through Illinois, Indiana, points on southward, kind of a myriad of weak but slow moving, but they are moisture laden weather systems, one through the upper Midwest, northern plains, another one, same piece that came through the southern states, especially Texas and Oklahoma the past couple of weeks in the Delta with big rains. It's much weaker, but it is bringing some rainfall to the Corn Belt here as we speak, and will do so on and off waves and stages the better part of the weekend. And probably there's more rain back in the forecast for next week. We'll detail that on this weekend's edition of This Week in Agribusiness. In any event, as of the end of the first week of June, 2/3 of the crops, corn and soybeans, 71% of the corn, 68% of the beans rated good and excellent, leading the pack. And I know you're not supposed to scout from the roadway, the fields, but I did coming back and forth from Pork Expo, and Iowa leads the pack at 85% of the corn and 80% of the beans in the good and excellent category. Surprisingly, because that's kind of an area that's a little bit dry and drought-ish into that section of the western and northwestern Corn Belt. But the rains are coming there too. Otherwise, some scattered showers and thunderstorms are winding down over the moisture-laden areas of Oklahoma, eastern Texas. A lot of streams and rivers are above bankful status in eastern Texas. Can't remember the last time I saw the drought monitor. Well, I saw it like the past few days, but Oklahoma removed from drought. That's the big story there. But at the same time, only 5% of the wheat's been harvested. Last year, 44%, 5-year average at 23%. So they're behind the eight ball there. Northward progression as well, and including Texas, but still some of the worst drought areas, Montana and Nebraska at 59% in through Montana, and 86% of Nebraska in some sense of categorical drought on the drought monitor. Drier weather, not completely, but drier weather, including for now, some of the West Texas and cotton areas of Western Texas, but there's more storms coming there. In any event, a lot of streams and rivers at or better than bankful in eastern areas of Texas towards Louisiana and the Gulf Coast. So they continue to struggle with late season field work, late season cotton planting, and cattle operations as well. Some of those very wet and muddy fields down through eastern and the southeastern parts of Texas and across the west. Well, if you're looking for your hot ridge, hot dome, there it is, 105 in the desert southwest. It'll be in the mid 80s to mid 90s in the sections of the Pacific Northwest. And it not only increases fire potential there, Pacific Northwest, but at the same time, runoff on what was a very abysmal moisture season in the Southwest. There's not a lot of mountain snow left in the Sierra and the Cascades, so we're already worried about that with regard to recreation, irrigation supplies, and all that going forward into the summertime season. There is the drought monitor as of June 10th, and yeah, look at Oklahoma. Out of it. There's nothing going on there with regard to dryness and drought. Texas, a big improvement, except for the Rio Grande and some of those areas north of South Texas as citrus. Improvement through Kansas, Missouri, central and southern Illinois, much of Indiana and Ohio. Still a corridor through northwest Indiana, northern Illinois, parts of Iowa, and into the upper Midwest. But that corridor will get some meaningful rainfall in the short term. And as we kind of begin to wind down, not all at once, this wetter weather pattern to something a little more typical and seasonal for early summertime and mid-summertime. So we wind it down, not completely end it. And we'll talk about the D word and all that kind of stuff coming up here a little bit. And on our live stream for next week. In any event, there is the Tuesday weather maps and charts. You can see a pretty good area of rain from about the Kansas-Missouri border on eastward through up to about the Kankakee, southward to the Delta region and in through Florida. Nice to see some improvement north of I-4. Work to go in the I-4 corridor southward to the Everglades and through Florida. Wet weather for the eastern states getting underway out there with some flood watches that affect through parts of Virginia and showers and thunderstorms too across the upper Midwest. Areas of Wisconsin and Minnesota. By evening time, severe weather breaks out. This time of the year, it's hail. It is the story into the high plains areas. You get some of that dry air into these thunderstorms. You cool that atmospheric column. You get the raindrops to go up and down, up and down, up and down, and above and below the freezing level. That's how you get hail and big hail sometimes. And they'll get it in the Texas Panhandle and in through Montana. More organized rains heading through the eastern Corn Belt, including tomorrow morning. And some of the waterlogged areas still of Kentucky and Tennessee, the Delta region, they are still not even halfway or maybe halfway to less than 2/3 complete on cotton planting. And some replanting into parts of Mississippi and Alabama. And the showers are still spotty and scattered across the northern plains, but they redevelop out towards the Corn Palace by tomorrow afternoon. They are still ongoing through the upper Ohio Valley, far southeastern Corn Belt, heading into the mid-Atlantic region. Some organized rains out there tomorrow afternoon and evening time. And still a propensity on Father's Day for a couple of showers and thunderstorms. Lesser rain coverages and duration on Father's Day versus the rest of the weekend, except for areas in the Ohio Valley down along the Gulf Coast. And again, welcome rain for areas of Florida, really from about the high plains on westward, except for Montana. It is a hot, dry weather pattern that continues on. And there's the severe weather outlook for this afternoon, and probably representative of the northern and central high plains, the Dakotas down through Nebraska. Heading in through the day tomorrow as well, with a slight risk, some areas even an enhanced risk of severe weather. And that, again, this time of the year is generally these downbursts of wind and or hail. So livestock managers pay heed in some of those areas of Montana, the western Dakotas, Wyoming, down into areas of western Kansas, everyone else in relatively good order. There's the fire potential, Reno, Tahoe, into the western and northern Great Basin, and areas east of the Cascades and through Washington State and Oregon, with downslope winds and that heat along with low afternoon humidity. So going forward here, it's showers and thunderstorms, slowing field work as well as winter wheat harvest and hay cutting. But boy, maintaining adequate to generally surplus soil moisture levels, except for those northwestern Corn Belt locales. But we will make improvement there in the shorter term, of which 1 to 3 inches of rain is in the forecast. There points east to the mid-Atlantic region, southward into the northern Florida panhandle, and ultimately into the northeast of New England, while triple-digit readings continue in the southwest. There's some sense of that hot ridge kind of working eastward into the plains, southern plains areas of Oklahoma, Texas, maybe into the Delta region. So a hotter, more humid scenario for outdoor work, livestock operations. Keep an eye on those and confinement areas, the fans, as we say, you guys say probably, space them out, water them down, with the heat coming into the southern plains areas of Oklahoma and Texas going forward, late in the weekend, more so into the early and middle parts of next week. There's your blob of 5 to 7 day rainfall totals centered on exactly where we need it. Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa, Corn Palace, far northwestern areas of the Corn Belt. Rain will be welcome, much needed, 1/4 to 3/4, locally at 1 inch in northern Illinois, northern Indiana, and 1 to maybe 2 from the I-70 corridor on southward. And some bigger rainfall totals, Gulf Coast, Tennessee, and lower Ohio valleys into the mid-Atlantic region. Going forward from there, next week, we see this upper air configuration, and basically leftover shower activity into areas of the eastern and southern Corn Belt. You see a weather system moving into the Pacific Northwest that will dislodge the heat, moving into the central and southern plains. Lots of 80s ahead for the Corn Belt. Maybe the southwestern sections do push the 90-degree mark envelope there. And still kind of a myriad of day-to-day chances and a couple of showers and thunderstorms through at least the middle part of the week for the northern and eastern plains, Corn Belt locales as well, but kind of diminishing coverages and amounts. And that H that you see through New Mexico and West Texas by Thursday and Friday, that's the classic hot dome, the hot ridge, the dry ridge, all the commodity guys talk about. So there it is, with probably some mid to upper 90s into southern Kansas, maybe Oklahoma, triple-digit readings into Texas. So quite a change there coming off the wet and the cool. So more weed disease and insect pressure, more stress on livestock as well. Main jet stream is still through the Pacific Northwest, up across the Dakotas, through the northern and eastern Corn Belt, and so the rain chances continue on there as well into the Northeast and New England. You can see kind of one frontal boundary over the course of late Monday, Tuesday into the plains, heading through the Corn Belt Wednesday, exiting eastern areas Thursday, and another one on its heels as those systems again come in through the Pacific Northwest, ride into the northern and central plains, drop east, southeast in the upper airflow at least into the northern and eastern Corn Belt. So the beat goes on into next week as we get ready to roll into summertime around here. And that's the way I think the rest of June's going to go. There'll be a drier, hotter trend, as we talked about in the plains, but still no means of just immediately turning off the rains. We could go into part of July like that over some Corn Belt and Eastern Plains areas as well. Yeah. Do we sound a little more bearish now on the drought? I think it's going to happen. Is it going to be more of a flash drought situation? Could be. Tropics are going to have a big hand, the Atlantic Basin and the Gulf, on how that materializes. And we'll talk about that going forward here, not only on the TV show, but on our next week live stream on the 18th at 1 o'clock. Just for giggles here, there's the government forecast the next couple of weeks. The hot ridge over the central Rockies, warmth across much of the Corn Belt. So if soil moisture is in good shape, things will be a hopping and popping. A lot of high ratings on good to excellent corn. Winter wheat should be able to make, at least from a harvest standpoint, a progression northward with a return to a little more typical. And that usually means hit and miss rainfall chances on the plains. Still some organization across much of the Corn Belt, but they kind of getting the inkling that we're going to move into a little more typical mid to late June, early July setup of rain. They tend to be roll the dice. Not a lot of organization, generally speaking, especially in the plains. Again, we take on that more of a Mediterranean climate. But again, some respectable rainfall opportunities is the way we see it as well into the upper Midwest, northern and eastern Corn Belt, down through the Gulf Coast as well. Some semblance in Arizona and New Mexico. We may begin, and that's a classic setup. The hot ridge is over, let's say, Salt Lake City, the Great Basin. Under the ridge, we draw in south winds, southeast winds off the Gulf, southwest winds off the Pacific. There is your climb on humidity and dew points, and you get into afternoon showers and thunderstorms, the start of the monsoon season, as they call it in Arizona and New Mexico. Friendly reminder, we clock into summertime, the summer solstice. That's 9:42 in the evening on Friday the 20th. I don't want to hear the talk. I already got my radio pals telling me the days are getting shorter and shorter after that. I just don't want to hear it. We got daylight, plenty of it through August and September. And a reminder again, Wednesday the 18th, 1 o'clock, 30-minute live stream. We'll talk about the current setup, the medium range, the longer range, an updated outlook on the summer weather pattern, commentary on the tropics, because it will have a hand on how quickly, how rapidly, as in a flash drought we move into. Again, some areas we're going to go from this drought pattern into obviously a wetter one, and then begin to see it increase maybe from northwest to southeast with time, where there's going to be some crop issues west, central parts of the Corn Belt, too much of a good thing to the east, and we'll see how cattle have to deal with the recurring heat out there into the Plain States area. So, Sarah, that's it. That's all I got for you here on a Friday. A lot to talk about. We'll have more details from a region-by-region outlook on this weekend's edition of This Week in Agribusiness. And the live stream will certainly be worth tuning into because, well, I don't have any big updates, I think, on the summer outlook, but other than maybe slowing, maybe a little more bearish on this all of a sudden drought setup. And if we get rains that continue north and east and wind down west and the heat stays focused on the plains, you can see how the issues are going to play out. Bring a tropical system up and lock that weather pattern down across North America. That's the rest of your summer, what you see, what you get when those tropics happen. And maybe like we had, I believe it was like last year, Hurricane Milton, just a little tropical doodah on the satellite picture. And then within about 36 hours went from what we call an easterly wave to a category 2 and 3 hurricane. It could be that kind of setup that materializes in the Atlantic. There's a lot of Saharan dust. Puerto Rico's been looking at record highs in the mid-90s. You would think big deal. That's an island area. But that's hot for Puerto Rico. Why? Because of Saharan dust. Saharan dust warms the atmosphere. It dries the atmosphere. Too much dust, you can't make hurricanes or tropical systems off at least the African coast come up with any strength or development. And the Saharan dust area continues there into the Caribbean and parts of the southern Atlantic. So there are other issues that forecasters tend to want to look at here, not just what the models say. And so we're keeping an eye on all that, and we'll talk in greater detail when we get together, not only Tuesday next week, but this week at Agribusiness and the live stream Wednesday on the 18th.
So what we're seeing with the cloudy skies here, the overcast skies, is that the dust?
No, that's still a little smoke. Yeah, there's a little bit of smoke still left over. Those fires are kind of out of control, the Canadian prairie, but it's actual dust that comes off the African coast. It gets lofted into the atmosphere. And, when we make clouds and moisture, it's through what we call condensation nuclei. It's like the thickness of a hair, and not even that. Now, this is actual dust that gets blown off the African coast, lifted up with rising air currents. It runs about 5 degrees north of the equator, and you get these batches and blobs that make their way off of Africa through the Atlantic. And when they come into the atmosphere there and the Caribbean chain, dust dries the atmosphere. It warms the atmosphere. Absolutely opposite of what you need for tropical development. So I think it's when we get this kind of channeling effect of something off the Atlantic on the backside of what we call the Bermuda Ridge, and or the winding down of Saharan dust, we've got a lot of heat, a lot of moisture to work with, and it may be these systems that look pretty benign. One day, 2 days later, we're dealing with a hurricane. I think that's the way the tropical season goes, but a little bit later in arriving, and we'll talk about that next week.
Yep, lots of information to talk about next week, next Wednesday, 1 p.m. right here on Feedstuffs 365. So, Greg, we'll be catching up with you on Tuesday for a quick update, and then a longer term on Wednesday, and another quick update on Friday. So we hope you all can join us, and we appreciate your time here today.
And have a great weekend.